So, bad news to anyone planning on attending the September World Championships this year. The countdown on the website is over. We've hit zeros. I'm still in Canada, so I guess the next video will be a recap video. It'll be short. Welcome back to my 2026 World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships preview videos. I'll be covering this event over the next couple months and a little bit afterwards as well. It's another day in very hot Canada at the moment, 40 degrees. The sky is filled with smoke from wildfires, so this video will be done inside this time. It's been almost 3 weeks since the last video went up. Plenty of time to see if anything has changed, if updates have been given. Do we have new information? Kind of. But before I get into that, thank you to everybody that's commented on the previous video or privately messaged me with their thoughts about that first part. Go and watch it if you haven't already. Let's talk about a couple of those things first. It was quite a mixture of feedback and probably the most divisive video, I guess, that I've put on this channel so far. Honestly, a little bit surprised at that, given what the content overall was, but people have their opinions. That's absolutely fine. The main part people messaged about was when I talked about the three entities, people, whatever, that we should be focusing on when it comes to the organization of the World Championships. That is the current president of the WJPF, who is Charlie, the previous person who was running it, which is Alfonso, and the main partner of the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships, which is Ravensburger. Now, from the comments I received, there was very little, if any, defense on Ravensburger's behalf. That's not surprising. But when it came to the other two individuals, it was interesting to see some of the reactions. I'm not going to go into much detail here, as that's not important. As I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I do want to clarify that I'm only talking about these individuals as they relate to the World Championships and its organization. Who they are as a day-to-day person is irrelevant in these videos. That's not what this is about. I'm sure they're very nice people. Again, this is only with regards to the World Championships and how it's being organized, communication issues, the good and the bad, everything that goes along with it. Only about the event itself. That's it. A lot of messages, especially private messages, that were sent to me with regards to Charlie in particular, who, yes, everything I've heard about Charlie, he is very, very nice. He cares about the puzzle world. He does run some other great events. Lots of great stuff. He has a great chat on Peace Talks. Go and watch that to hear more about Charlie and stuff to do with the World Championships from last year. But he is the newly appointed president to the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation. But again, a lot of the messages that were sent to me specifically said he and the rest of the board are newly appointed, and they are not running things this year. So it is not on them with whatever happens going forward. I heard that through multiple sources, but well before the last video was posted, which is why I included this exact statement in part 1. What I don't want to be hearing is, okay, well, yes, there's been a new board put in place. We have a new president, vice president, everything else that goes with it. That's not really for this year, though. That's for next time, because the venue was already picked for this year before the. I don't care. I do not care. Your name is on the website. The board is listed on the website. It is on you. There was a big production made within parts of the international puzzle community about the new board being put in place when they were named. That was ages ago. More than enough time to have influence on this year's World Championships. Now, at the time, when the new board was being organized, they could have publicly said they will get to work after the 2026 World Championships take place. That didn't happen. So as far as I'm concerned, their name is on the website, which was updated very quickly once that new board was announced. Names are on there. Your name is attached to the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation, which is the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships. They are the same entity at this point. So if it is anything that happens, good or bad, is on anyone in a leadership position, and I will stand by that. And since we never hear anything from anyone who is part of the WJPF, we have to make our own determination on who is making the decisions. So I will offer a public invitation, which I also gave to the founders of the World Series back in January of this year, which they happily accepted many times. And the invitation is anyone from the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation, whether it's Charlie or anybody else that's part of the board or involved with them in any sort of way. I would love to have the opportunity to have you appear on this channel. We can talk about the World Championships, help promote the World Championships. I still think people should go to it. Remember, I am going to the World Championship, so I am part of what is making the World Championships occur this year. I am a participant. But yes, anyone from the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation is happy to come on here. We'll talk about things, good and the bad, because there's nothing's perfect. We can talk about what to expect at this year's event, why certain calendar and category changes were made, get some clarifications on some of the other decisions, and talk about whatever else that you like. Open invitation whenever you want. You can reach out to me through my email address, which is on the homepage of this channel, or message me directly on my Instagram channel, which is the same as this one, @CanadamPuzzle. I do look forward to chatting with you, and I think that will be a video that gets watched by quite a few people, whether they are going to the World Championships this year or not. But let's get into some of the changes people have noticed over the last 2.5, 3 weeks since part 1 of this series was released. First, I think the biggest change and the most surprising of the changes was that we were temporarily heading to Thailand for the World Championships this year. Now, a location change is one of the most requested adjustments people want to see when it comes to the World Championships. Nothing against Valladolid or Spain, but it's been there 5 times, soon to be 6. Change of location is great, but the sudden change to Thailand, or renaming the World Championships to the Thai Championships, that was interesting. Now, obviously, this is a typo, but a hilarious one, because I can't even begin to guess how that would have happened or why. Like, seriously, how does that possibly happen? Now, the mistake was fixed within a few hours at most, and it's not like it's a serious error or anything. It just brings up flashbacks of last year, where if something could go wrong, or you could imagine if something might go wrong, it will go wrong. And yeah. Now, I've been to Thailand. I've enjoyed it. Perhaps a competition on a beach. I would definitely sign up for that. Windy would be a bit of an issue, but yeah, I would definitely be there, depending on who's organizing it, of course. Now, the next change that we saw on the website was the homepage. Nope, not that change for whatever reason. But the homepage, the schedule page, and the rules page are all synchronized. I know. Like they should have been from the start. But you know what? We got there. They're all the same now. Now, did my first video help prompt the change after being mismatched for ages? Who knows? But yeah, timing works. Now, they still aren't perfect. There's still some things on there. For instance, this year, we still need to be aware of what the rules are when it comes to certain aspects of being in the dome. We're not in the dome. But website updates are being made slowly, but they're being made. So let's move away from the website for now, because I'm sure there's going to be some changes up on there. I'm tracking all the different web pages to see what happens and if there's changes on there. So if something happens, it'll be in part 3. Hopefully it's not. Part 3, I have very different plans for what to cover in this series going forward. I'll get more into that at the end of this video. What I do want to talk about is I want to repeat a request from part 1, and that is to bring back the pairs semifinals. I want to talk about the pairs rounds again, because there has been some scheduling numbers. There's been changes. Let's talk about that. So first of all, each of the pairs rounds are now 90 minutes instead of the original 75 minutes, which I think is good, especially for a qualifier round. I believe that's what it was in 2025 for the qualifiers. And you know what? That makes more sense. This is a good change. I am happy to see this. Uh, Even just an extra 15 minutes in the qualifier round will allow for more pairs to finish to complete the puzzle. And in the qualifier rounds, that is the most important part for the general population of competitors. It's not, we kind of know who's going to be making it, not everybody, but we have a good knowledge of the bulk of people that will make it through to semifinal rounds where when they exist, and finals rounds. But for a lot of people, they know their only round might just be the qualifiers and they want to finish the puzzle. So 90 minutes instead of 75 minutes, great. I am absolutely fine with that. Theoretically, since there's only really two events on that day, we'll get into the afternoon a bit, but you could theoretically have the qualifiers as 2 hours. It makes absolutely no significant difference. And then you're going to get even more people that are able to finish their puzzle. So, you know what? That change, good change, great. Now, the number of pairs allowed in each of the two qualifiers continues to rise. It started off at 200 was the maximum, which meant a total of 400 pairs if you combine the two rounds. Then it rose to 250 pairs in each round, which is what it was when this last video, when part one was released, for a total of 500 pairs. And now we are at 300 pairs allowed in each qualifier for a total of 600 pairings. At what point does the number just get so high they just bring back the semifinals? Because this is 600 pairs is a lot. And you know what? The numbers, registration numbers are climbing. And could they get to 600 total pairs? It is possible. At the time of this recording, there is 477 pairs. So there is still a little bit of a distance to go. We haven't even reached that 500 mark yet. But as we've seen in previous years, within that last month or so, we do start to see an increase of last minute registrations, especially from people from Spain, Germany, closer countries, big puzzling countries that are close. So yeah, these last minute registrations can still bump that number up. But let's just assume that we will get to those 600 because that's what they are counting on. Only 95 pairs from each of those qualifiers. So 95 out of 300 pairs are guaranteed a spot in the final. The pairs category is now officially the toughest event to qualify to get to the final. Now, there are 5 additional spots left for the playoff position, so it's not 100 pairs from each round that automatically get through. It's the top 95 plus another 5 from the playoff positions. I'm not going to talk about the playoff positions much after this video. I'm going to do a little rant at this point. I'm going to say one thing about it, and then I'm going to move on from it. It's not going to change. It is what it is. Let's briefly talk about the playoff positions. Now, I understand the reason for the playoff system is to have smaller, underrepresented countries have a spot in the finals. I am absolutely okay with that. It does help to grow speed puzzling within these underrepresented countries. And sometimes aren't even small countries. Like, I'm not talking about little island nations somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But some countries just don't send, even if they're based in Europe or nearby across the Mediterranean in Africa or Middle East. There's still some countries, whether they might be large in size, are underrepresented in the speed puzzling community. I am okay with that being the reason for the playoff spots. Absolutely fine. My suggestion for the playoff position as a caveat that needs to go along, that should go along with this, is that the competitors must complete the puzzle as well to qualify for the playoff position. Now, this only applies if there are individuals, pairs, teams, whatever, that miss out on qualifying because even though they finished the puzzle, they were just too slow when it comes to the cutoff qualifying time. So when it comes to pairs, they're not in that top 95. They could have been 96th, 97th, 100th, whatever, but they weren't in that top 95. But they finished the puzzle. If you take they don't qualify for the playoffs because they come from a largely represented country. Yeah, that's fine. But if someone who comes from a underrepresented country did not finish the puzzle, that shouldn't be counted as someone who would then get to spot in the finals or semifinals, whatever the next round might be. Now, this doesn't apply if multiple individuals, pairs, teams don't finish the puzzle as part of the regular qualifying due to the difficulty of the puzzle. An example of this would be the 2024 Teams Qualifier A. Those who are in this round will remember that nightmare scenario where they were four very, very challenging puzzles. 35 teams automatically qualified for the final. However, only 22 of those teams completed the two puzzles within the 3-hour time limit. So you have 13 teams that made it through because of how challenging those puzzles were. If anyone watched the Canadian Nationals this year, you would have seen something similar in the teams qualifier events there, where very, very few teams finished their qualifying puzzle. So in this case, under country represented teams, whatever, there's, yeah, give them the playoff spots. But in the instance where if every team finishes that automatically qualifies plus 10 more teams, a team from a country that finished 100 pieces out of 1,000, do they move on? One thing I do love about the World Championships is anyone can participate regardless of your ability. And it brings a lot of people into the puzzle community, which I think is great. But to move on to the semifinals and the finals, this is where the competition aspect kicks in. Those spots should be reserved for people who, at the very least, finish the puzzle within whatever time limit it is they are given. Again, this is only if all the automatic qualifying spots are filled with people who also completed the puzzle. Now, that's all I'm going to mention about the playoff rule. I know it's not going to change. Good luck to anyone that's coming from a country that is sending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different representatives. Because there are fewer qualifiers this year, taking advantage of that playoff rule is actually going to be a lot tougher. The countries with very few people can't be spread over multiple qualifiers this time. So, for instance, for the pairs round, if I look at the website as it is when I'm recording this, there is 20 countries or so that have 2 or fewer participants in the pairs rounds. So only 5 from each, so 10 in total, can get that spot. So really pushing, if you finish the puzzle as a country that only sends 1 or 2 representatives, you have a good shot of making it through, at the very least, in a playoff position. I don't think we see as many non-finishers make it through this year. But if we do, we do. Again, not going to mention it after this point. That's a playoff rule. What do you think about it? Let's get back to the pairs category. Now, it is highly unlikely we're going to get our semifinals rounds back. So I'll be turning my focus into something hopeful instead. Because at this point, all we can do is hope. And not this type of hope. Please do not have this as a puzzle at the World Series. This particular, I don't mind the Dulks, but this is, I do not like this one. I hope does not show up. So what am I hoping for when it comes to the pairs event, specifically the qualifiers at the World Championships? I am hoping we see unreleased puzzles in both of the qualifiers. I know for a fact that there will be some people that just laughed at that, and I understand. But according to the rules, at the time of this recording, because rules can change, the pairs qualifier will still involve competitors getting 2 puzzles at the start and deciding which one to do between the 2 participants, 2 people in the pairs. Okay, why can't both of those puzzles be unreleased? Last year in the pairs qualifiers, the puzzles were previously released not great, but understandable given that there was 4 qualifiers, 2 puzzles per qualifier. If we had new puzzles in each of those, that would be 8 puzzles in the qualifiers plus 2 for the semifinals. That's 10 new unreleased 500-piece puzzles just for the pairs rounds. Okay, that is tough to do. Not impossible, but tough to do. Somewhat understandable. But now we only have 2 qualifiers and 1 final, and so that's just 4 500-piece puzzles they need to sort out. The final's a 1,000-piece puzzle. That's different. 4 is doable for the pairs rounds. It would also be very interesting to see how people approached, or the pairs approached, these puzzles and the decisions that they would have to make on the spot. You couldn't consult one of the websites that tracks how fast the average puzzle time is. By the way, we are still being given that minute according to the rules. Again, right this moment, we're still given that minute at the start of each round to unseal the box. That I didn't realize that was still in the rules until I was told about this just a few days ago. I must have just kind of blocked that from my mind when going through the rules. Ha- Part of the big excitement of a puzzle competition is when you open that bag and you get to see the puzzle for the first time and you go straight into it. Not having a minute to strategize, not having the minute to look to see or try to figure out what you're going to do, overthink what you're going to do, not have a minute to try to unseal a box. They're going to give us those little teardrop things again, and they don't cut. And in the rules, it says you can't bring your own cutting device or whatever for the safety of the competitors and the integrity. I'm going to check that. Hang on. I should have had it written down. I'm just going to read it right off the website. If the puzzles are delivered sealed with shrink wrap or side adhesives, the organization will provide an accessory for opening the boxes, which was terrible. Under no circumstances may the participant use scissors, cutters, knives, or any other sharp or pointed object that may cause injuries or put the participant's integrity at risk. Like bodily integrity? If I bring a plastic butter knife, which works a whole lot better than those cutters do, I think we're gonna be okay. Like, or hear me out. Um, Unseal the boxes yourselves. I do like how it says if the puzzles are delivered sealed, with the line right above that. The organizers will give participants 1 minute to unseal the box of the puzzle they will assemble without opening it. Just unseal the box. This will never not be frustrating for me. It takes away from that excitement of you open the bag and go straight into it. Uh, watch the live streams from every puzzle competition and the excitement that you hear from the room, the boxes being opened, the announcers straight off into what's going on in the room, and then watch the live streams from last year's World Championships. The start of the round is a little bit more subdued. The excitement is just taken right out of the room. Unseal the boxes in advance. It can't possibly be that hard. You want something? I'll come and do it myself. It's like you have people that will volunteer to help do this. Are you worried about information being leaked? Shouldn't be. Just that will always be frustrating. Back to the pairs. I keep getting distracted from this. It would be interesting if both of the puzzles in the pairs round uh, are unsealed, because again, it would be interesting to see how people make that choice in that minute that we are given. Um, this would also remove advantages of people having done those puzzles in advance. In my lead up to the World Championships, I will probably go through 100, maybe more, different Ravensburgers multiple times beforehand. One, to practice different skills and such like that, but I want to make it through the qualifiers. Sorry, I'm going to give myself as big an advantage as I can. If one of those 100 puzzles shows up in the individuals or the pairs rounds for the 500 pieces, I'm going to know straight away if I should be doing that puzzle or if I should definitely not be doing that puzzle. Um, Advantages is an advantage, and the way to take that away from people like myself, which I'm perfectly fine with if they do, is to just give us new puzzles in every round. Great. That tests puzzlers on their ability to do a new puzzle, not how well they practice other puzzles over and over and over again in advance. Now, ideally, this would be the case in the individual rounds as well, but I'm pretty confident unreleased puzzles will never show up in the qualifiers for individuals. But prove me wrong. But this is very doable for the pairs qualifiers. I also think this would bring some goodwill back to those who have registered for the competition and have had a round removed after we've paid. It is still possible to print these puzzles in time. And the number of additional copies that they would sell would make it worth it, because if you're not in that round, you'd buy it from the round. If I'm in round A, I'm going to buy the puzzles from round B. I can tell you that right now. And I'll probably split the two puzzle options with my pair's partner. So then I'll have to buy the other new puzzle that I didn't have because my partner has it. So right away, I'm telling you right now, I'm buying 3 puzzles from the pairs round. Even if I don't like them, I'm probably still going to buy them, because it's Canada and getting puzzles here is a nightmare. But a lot of opportunity to sell some puzzles here, Ravensburger. You can do it. I have faith in. I believe it's a possibility that you might do this. And if the Canadian Nationals can manage to have 5 new unreleased 500-piece puzzles and 4 new unreleased 1,000-piece puzzles, and we don't even have a Ravensburger anywhere in Canada. Ravensburger, North America, it's not really North America. Surely the World Championships can do better. That's on a higher tier than any national competition, right? There, that was something hopeful. A little bit more positive in this video. The goal was to make this video a bit more positive. Maybe it didn't go that way. More hopeful, at least. Giving suggestions. I don't expect more changes on the website at this time, but it is being monitored, like I said, by myself with some trackers and with some other people doing some work for me as well. I can't check the website constantly. I definitely don't expect an official announcement from the WJPF at any point in time, but perhaps when we least expect something will happen. But like I said, there is still an open invitation to anybody from the WJPF, Charlie in particular, to come on here and talk about this year's World Championships. Some other things I would like to give an update in the next video, if possible, please, which will probably be in a couple of weeks. Give us some details on what's happening on the opening ceremonies. Again, 60-ish days away. Let us know. Let us get excited for something beyond the rounds that we might be competing in, whether they're in Vitalite or Thailand or wherever. And also what is happening on the Friday when it comes on the pairs qualifier day. The afternoon is supposed to be the WJPF organizations competition. What's the details for that? We want to know. Going forward in this series, it's going to be a little bit different in the next video because I don't expect many changes or announcements coming at this point. We're in the final stretch, 10 or less than 10 weeks away from the World Championship starting. So the next video is going to be directed towards those of you who might be attending the World Championships for the first time. So for those of you that have been before, I will be looking for your input. So make sure you're following me on Instagram at Canadian Puzzle and watch my stories over the next couple weeks. I'll be asking questions where you can give advice to people who will be attending for the first time. The first question has already gone out there, but you can also leave a comment below on this video, or just reach out to me with things you think people should know about about the World Championships. And it's not going to be just the World Championships. Yeah, that'll play a factor, but what should people know about the city of Valladolid? What should they know about when they're traveling to Spain, especially if they're not from a European country? And just other aspects, things to do, things they should take advantage of while they are in a city full of puzzlers for possibly the first time at an international event. So many things that I want people to get excited for, despite other stuff that might be going on that we can all laugh about later. But we still want to make sure that the World Championships is enjoyable for everybody that is attending. And for those that aren't, maybe this will make them feel like they're missing out a little bit, and maybe convince a few of them to sign up last minute. But yeah, so for everybody that's within the puzzle community, the international puzzle community, let's help out those attending for the first time and make sure that they enjoy their time at the World Championships. That is it for this video. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss out on anything that is happening on this channel. I will see you next time, and as always, happy puzzling. Bye.